Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we're going to be going over the premium cruisers in World of Warships Legends. I'm going to give you my top pick at each tier, and I'll kind of go over each ship and let you know what I think of them. But a few things to point out. Number one, of course, this is a subjective list. My preferences might vary from yours. If you think I'm wrong or if you think you agree with me, let me know in the comments. I do like to hear what you guys think are your favorite ships when it comes to these lists. But currently, no aircraft carriers permanently in the game, so I'm not taking into account that. This is early 2021, so of course there's going to be plenty of more premium ships introduced as time goes on. So of course, what's not out yet is not going to be included in this list. So I'll probably update this, at least once or twice going down the road as more and more ships are introduced and the game evolves from tactics standpoint. So keep that in mind. Jumping into tier 3, you can see we got the Iwaki here. I get the FE, the Founders Edition version. Anytime you see an FE ship, that was someone who bought a bundle of premium ships right off the bat when the game was first launched. So usually an experienced player, probably worth trying to see if you can take them out. But your options here currently are Yubari or Iwaki. Both of those are similar in terms of their ability to protect themselves in terms of armor and citadel size. The Yubari is actually somewhat smaller than its ship's citadel, so you can miss and still blow that ship up. At least that's how it seems sometimes. But not the easiest for a brand new player. I didn't like the Yubari when I first got the game, just due to the fact that if you're making mistakes with your angling, you're getting shot in the sides, you will die very quickly. So very, I don't know if very is the correct term, but a little bit difficult in terms of playing that ship. But laser accurate guns, and I believe the AA suite is solid on that as well. So we'll see when the carriers come out how that ship holds up. But Yubari's not bad. You can have some fun with that one. But the Iwaki, you got more guns. You got the smoke, which is amazing. You got smoke sonar, actually, I believe. But the ability for a cruiser to smoke itself up, yeah, it's a very strong offensive combo. And you got long-range torps on these things. You got really abysmal firing angles, so you got to be very careful. Don't force the torp usage. You don't want to be pointing broadside just to get some torps off and then get blown up. But if you can stay alive throughout the game in the Iwaki, I put up some really high damage ratio games when comparing damage output to ship's HP of the Iwaki, which is under 20,000. So, if you get over 100,000 in this, you're doing over 5 times your ship's HP and damage. And it's something you can definitely do in the ship because it has very strong offensive capabilities. So Iwaki takes the cake for me at tier 3. Tier 4, we currently have 3 options: Marblehead, Yahagi, and Krasny Krim. Now, I'm not a big fan of Krasny Krim. I would put that at the bottom of the pack. It does have its fans out there, I'll give it that, but not the strongest ship in my mind. You got a lot of guns, but they can't really hit anything. Accuracy is suspect at best. But, it is what it is. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the Krasny Krim. I know some people disagree. Yahagi, we just got that as a campaign reward ship. Whether that'll be available in the future, in the store, or whatever, remains to be seen. But it's pretty solid. It's a good tier 4 Japanese cruiser, and I find it enjoyable to play. And it's pretty solid all around. But of course, Marblehead takes the cake. Top tier 4 cruiser, hands down. Ripping AP close range. Anything long range, you can burn it down. Burn it to a crisp with the HE. It's similar in terms of armor scheme to the Omaha. It just seems a little bit more durable. I should check and see if the Citadel is smaller or something. But I've always found the Marblehead to be a little bit more durable. You got really long-range torps, but they're the slowest torps in the game, I think. They're 49 knots in the water, so you can't actually hit anything with them, but they reload very quickly, and you can spit them out all over the place, just kind of polluting the water and upping the distraction factor that the enemy might have to deal with. Once in a blue moon, you'll hit something with them, but the torps are just there just kind of to rapidly throw out and cause chaos, basically. But overall, Marblehead, extremely solid. I've had some of my highest scoring games in the Marblehead before they changed the rules. I got a few 4,000 base XP games in the Marblehead. So you can definitely rip some things to shreds in the Marblehead once you get the hang of the game. Tier 5, I'm starting to get a few more options. We currently got Exeter, London with the Brits. Germans, we got Graf Spee, de Grasse with the French, and Molotov with the Russians. Now, Graf Spee has its lovers and it has its detractors. I'm not a huge fan of it in terms of reliability, just due to the fact that it's got basically German battleship guns on it. And it kind of feels like a battleship when you're playing it, but armor-wise, you can't really go toe-to-toe with battleships that are fighting you. So you got to be kind of careful that you make sure you're playing it as a cruiser and not getting bogged down with the idea that you're a battleship. But you can definitely bully other cruisers. There's no doubt about it there. It's got good sonar. It's got functional torps. There's a lot going for it. It's just, for me, the guns aren't reliable enough for me to put it anywhere near the top slot. I'd put the London towards the bottom of the pack as well. Not bad, but it's just, you got, out of these premiums, well, comparing it to the Exeter, it's a longer reload, similar offensive output. Torpedoes don't reload as quickly, and I think the mobility is a little bit weaker. So for me, you can see the Exeter is going to wind up taking the top pick. I just think it's a little bit better across the board, at least in my mind. But both of them are pretty solid ships. De Grasse, Molotov, and Exeter are the top three for me. I almost went with De Grasse. Kind of a really nice flowing kiting style of a ship, but if you can get undercover as well, you can wreck some ships with that way. AP, solid across the board. It doesn't really matter what distance you're at. You can have some rippers with the AP. HE, not as strong, but it's a good shell overall. If you're able to stay relevant the whole game and in the position to keep pulling the trigger and dealing damage, you can pile up the HE fire damage as well. So de Grasse, very solid ship. Molotov, I think it's a little bit harder just due to the fact that it's got 860 meter turning circle or turn radius. So that one makes it a little bit harder for the average player to play, but offensively the guns are extremely dangerous. You don't want to ignore the Molotov. Very flat firing arcs, and the AP can absolutely shred ships. So I usually play the Molotov with an AP focus, and you can have a lot of fun with that ship. It's pretty enjoyable. But for me, Exeter just barely squeaks out the top spot here, primarily just due to the fact that it has a smoke, and it can protect itself that way. So it ups the versatility. But, overall, you can go Exeter, you can go de Grasse, you can go Molotov. I don't think anyone can really give you too much of a hard time there with whatever you pick. Tier 6, we got a lot of really good options. It's probably the most robust in terms of options right now. Bottom of the pack ships, for me, I would put down Cheshire. Now, the Cheshire just got a buff, and I haven't actually played it since it got buffed. I didn't mind the ship necessarily. It's not horrible. It's just very hard to protect yourself with the Cheshire. So for that reason, I think most players don't really like it that much. Charlemagne, they buffed that one as well, and I gotta admit I haven't played that since the buff either. But that one you can have some fun with, and it seems like you gotta really put in a lot of effort to get good results with it. It's kind of a must to stay alive throughout the match and just keep yourself relevant. And if you can't really, if you get out of position or you die too early, you're really not going to have a good time contributing to the match with that one. So I think that one's a little bit harder. Abruzzi, I actually kind of like this ship to play. I don't play it too often, but it's a very quick reloading Italian cruiser, so it plays a little bit different. 152s on this, so it's a light cruiser. Doesn't have EOP right now, so that puts it at a little bit of a disadvantage. But you can have some pretty good games with that one. You got to be very careful with your positioning with that one as well. Not very heavily armored there. Indianapolis, for me, some people really love that one due to the really solid AP offensive abilities. The HE is pretty good as well. Guns wise, it's very good, and it's got a very good radar. Probably the best radar in the game, in my opinion. Extra kilometer on that compared to the other standard American radar, but same duration. So very solid radar, very solid guns. Defensively, cannot get shot by battleships. A battleship will blow you up at any angle from any distance, and it's one of those ships that if people are actually shooting at you, you're probably going to go down very quickly. So you got to play the Indianapolis carefully. It can have more success in a division just due to the fact that you might get better spotting, or you might even get a destroyer that would be smoking you up, and in those instances you're going to have a lot of fun. But I would put those first ships kind of more in the bottom of this tier 6 pack, Top of the pack, you got, of course, the Golden Shower Boys from the U.S. side of the thing. You got Atlanta, you got Flint, and then Boise is 152s compared to the 127s on the Flint and Atlanta. But Boise, outstanding heal, very good offensive output. Flint, you got longer range torps, you got smoke, you got quick reloading guns. And Atlanta, of course, same type of deal there, but you got the radar instead of the smoke and the torps. So you can take your pick between those three. I like them all very much. Anyone who's going against those, they're going to get splashed in their eye. Clothes are going to get ruined. They're going to need to take a shower after you're done dealing with them. Not a very pleasant experience to go against a good Atlanta, Boise, or Flint operator. We just have a couple new ones too recently. The Dragon ships, Eastern Dragon and Southern Dragon. They're kind of special event versions of the Miyoko. Now, the Miyoko is extremely strong. I think that's one of the best tech tree ships at Tier 6. Probably would be the strongest in my mind, except for the fact that the Fiji exists. But due to the fact that they're basically Miyoko clones, they're very solid ships, these dragons. So you can definitely put those toward the top of the list. Munchin just came out this week. That one might well end up being the top slot here going forward. I just haven't played it quite as much. But offensively, extremely strong. It's kind of like a Nuremberg at Tier 6. Quick reloading guns, capable of extremely high damage output. Better firing angles than the Nuremberg. You can play it forward or backwards. But armor-wise, same drawbacks as the Nuremberg. So you do have to be careful there or you'll be blown up quickly. But the Munchin definitely is one of the top spots at the tier. Of course, though, you can see I went with Belfast. Now, Belfast doesn't really blow anything away at any point in time, but it's got all around a very good solid package. You got the smoke, you got radar, you got sonar, you got offensively the option between AP or HE. So there's really not a lot to not like about the Belfast. You know, it's this typical British cruiser. I mean, they're kind of annoying when you're trying to stop them just because they take forever to stop, but that's not unique to the Belfast by any means. But overall, Belfast very strong. That one was a campaign reward ship. I don't think it's currently available. Maybe it's a green XP ship, but if you ever see the Belfast available again, you might want to give that one a consideration. Or if you see it in the meantime on the enemy team, go ahead and kill it because it could cause problems for you. Moving into Tier 7 here. A lot of good ships to pick from here as well. We got Wichita, Otago, Azuma, Prince Eugene, or Prince Eugen as some people call it, if they don't know how to pronounce it. Siegfried as the current campaign reward ship, and Kudazov. So out of those ones, I'd say the Azuma is probably my least favorite. You can have some success, but the guns aren't that accurate. The armor doesn't really hold up that well at these high tiers, so that one can be tricky to play, and you don't have the torps. So you're kind of more of a one-trick pony, but some people really like the Azuma. I'd put it at the bottom, though. And Siegfried, I don't have enough experience with. I think the guns are really solid, but it's, you know, protection-wise, I think it has some issues. I don't know. I need some more experience with that one, though. But it didn't blow me away quite as much as some of these ships. So I'm not prepared to put it towards the top of the pack yet. Kudazov, very solid. Of course, you got the smoke. You got the quick reloader, Russian guns, flat firing arcs. You can cause havoc. You know, you could fire in range. You can get up there. I think you can make it the biggest firing range for any cruiser at the tier. But there's not a lot to not like about the Kudazov. As long as you got some decent spotting, you can cause a lot of problems for the enemy with that one. Otago, you know, anyone who knows my channel well knows I really like the Megami. Otago's right up there with that one. Both very solid Japanese Tier 7 cruisers. I don't like the torps on the Otago as much as the Megami. They're a little bit more versatile because you can fire forward and backwards, but I'd rather have just the full set backwards and play it as a kiting ship. So the Otago, you can get a little bit more up close and personal, but overall, I'd give the nod personally to the Megami, but Otago, very solid. Prince Eugen, very good as well. You can make a strong case for this one. You can, of course, run it with the German sonar, which I think most people would. I run it with the reload boost just to give it more differentiation from the Hipper, but Prince Eugene, very solid, you know, close range cruiser. You got excellent firing arcs in your torps, launchers on both sides. I mean, there's not a lot to not like about the Prince Eugen. But top spot, you can see here Wichita. Of course, we got a radar. There's a version of the Baltimore as well, I should say. Azure Lane, Baltimore. That's a very solid ship. Baltimore is great, and if you get a premium version of it, that can score your, extra credits, extra XP, whatever you're trying to grind out. That's a solid ship. You can make a case for the Baltimore as well. I just went with Wichita. Protection-wise, it's very hard to damage the Wichita. Very small citadel. And if you're angling well, you can protect yourself quite a bit. You got your radar. Not quite as... I don't like the guns quite as much on the Wichita as the Baltimore, but they just perform a little bit differently. So you got to keep that in mind. The Baltimore, you can basically citadel battleships, cruisers from anywhere. Wichita, more raw damage, less citadel damage, but overall solid there. You got good HE performance. Not a lot to not like. So the Wichita, that's a ship that a lot of people actually complain about. They think it's a little too overpowered. I don't think it's necessarily overpowered, but I would definitely say it's very strong. So that one, if it ever pops up again, that was another campaign reward ship. You'd probably want to pounce on that one if and when it ever happens. So anyway, that's a look at my list, guys. We don't have enough legendary tier ships currently to make it worth our while, but we'll cover those again in future versions of this video. Anyway, if you did like this one, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments where you think I got it right, where you think I got it wrong, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.